evening we're going to be looking at writing systems of equations from word problems. Systems offer a great opportunity to look at some real world applications. This means we'll be seeing a lot of word problems in this unit. I know you're excited about that. We are going to look at some of the strategies to write a system of equations to represent the different situations you're faced with. Remember, algebra is like a foreign language, and we talked about that. You've got to be able to translate from algebra to English and from English to algebra. So I'm going to try and give you some strategies tonight to hopefully be able to read the word problem, write the system, and then solve the system. The strategy we're going to look at tonight is a graphic organizer that we're going to use to get organizer. It'll help us organize our thoughts and get our head around the situation to make it easier to actually write the equations. First thing we need to do is to look at a situation or a word problem and implement use of our graphic organizer. So first thing we got to do is read the problem. A used bookstore also started selling used CDs and DVDs. In the first week, the store sold 40 used CDs and DVDs at $4 per CD and $6 per DVD. The sales for both CDs and DVDs totaled $180. How many CDs and DVDs did the store sell in the first week? Okay, if you look at the graphic organizer, notice right here it says define your variables. That is a really important step. And I want you, whether you think you need to or not, I want you to start defining your variables and actually writing it out on every problem you attack. Okay, so we know in a system, the ones we're working with right now, we're going to have two variables, and we're going to use x and y because those are the ones that I like. Okay? Something that's helpful to do when you're trying to do this is to read the part of the question that actually poses a question to you. So what are they looking for? And the question, I've separated it out down here. It says, how many CDs and DVDs did the store sell in the first week? That's what you have to answer. That's what you don't know. That's what your variables are going to represent. Another way to attack it or to think about it is, when you read the problem, think, what do I not know? You know how much the DVDs and CDs are sold for. You know how much money they made. You know how many CDs and DVDs they sold. What you don't know is how many individual CDs and how many individual DVDs they sold. So, how many CDs and DVDs did the store sell? X is going to be the number of CDs, and Y is going to be the number of DVDs. Don't get hung up on which is which, because it doesn't matter. You'll get the right answer either way at the end. Okay? Make sure you realize you're not talking about how much they cost. You already know. It's how many did they sell. Alright, follow the arrow down. Next thing is to write the system of equations. You've got to go back to the word problem and look at what information they gave you. They sold 40, my pen's not writing and I don't know why. There it is. Oh, 40 used CDs and DVDs. Okay, so you have a total of 40. That means the CDs plus the DVDs equals 40. So how many CDs did we sell? We sold X. How many DVDs? We sold Y. The sum of that, those two, are going to equal the total sold, which is 40. That's the first equation in the system, and quite frequently that's the one that kids miss. It's the easiest one to me, but that's the one they tend to miss. The next thing we're going to look at up here is the $180. They sold $180 worth. So you have to think to yourself, how much did they make on DVDs and how much did they make on CDs? The CDs cost $4 and we sold X. So 4 times the number we sold would tell us how much money we brought in from them. Likewise, the DVDs are $6. So 6 times the number of CDs that we sold tells us how much money came in from CDs. If I add the money from CDs and the money from DVDs together, I find the total of $180. For right now, we're not going to go on and solve this problem. I just want you to practice writing the system. We will practice solving them and stating our solution later. Okay? Make sure you have all this done in your notes because you're going to need it later too. Are you ready to look at another one? Alright, we're going to look at a second example. This example is a little trickier than the first one, but I want you to see a good variety of the different types of problems you're going to see. We're going to begin by reading the problem, and then we're going to start with our graphic organizer, and we're going to define our variables. You'll want to make sure you get all this down in your notes. Nick plans to start a home-based business producing and selling gourmet dog treats. He figures it will cost $20 in operating costs per week plus 50 cents to produce each treat. He plans to sell each treat for $1.50. How many treats does Nick need to sell per week to break even? Okay, so we go in with some expected information. We expect that we're going to need an X and we're going to need a Y. I don't know what's going on with that X. Let's make it a little better. Okay. So we expect to be defining those two variables. We go and we read what they're asking us for, and it says how many treats. So I'm going to make X the number of treats. The Y is where this gets a little tricky because they don't ask us for something else specific. We have to make inferences. They say, how many does he need to sell to break even? And you have to know what break even means. When you break even, the money you spend, or the cost, is the same as the revenue, or the money that you bring in, or that you earn. You could say you earn it, you could call it your actual sales, but however much you actually bring in equals your cost. It means you didn't make money, you didn't lose money. So when we're trying to define this Y could be the cost, and Y can represent the sales because they're the same. So, and this is just something you have to practice with and you'll get used to because we're going to practice these so much. So there's something else to look forward to. So in this system, Y is going to represent the cost or the sales because they are the same number when you break even. Now we have to write the system. We know it costs $20 in operating costs, and then he spends 50 cents for each treat. So let's say here Y is going to be cost, and I'll make a little note, this is cost on this one. Okay, the cost equals $20 in operating costs. Operating costs are the electricity, the rent for the building. They're things you have to pay whether you make a treat or not. They're always there. So we got $20 in operating costs, and his operating costs are so low because he's probably doing this in his kitchen. Okay? And then every treat we make costs 50 cents. That means you've got to buy flour, flavor, eggs, whatever go in those things. So we're going to spend 50 cents on materials, and 50 cents times the number of treats we make will tell us how much flour and egg and different ingredients we have to spend money on. So our total cost is going to be our operating costs plus 50 cents times every treat that we make. That's our first equation in the system. The second equation is going to be Y equals again, but this time we're dealing with sales. Okay, so Y equals the number of treats we sell, which is X, that's a number. So the number of treats we sell times the amount of money we get for each treat, which happens to be $1.50, right? And I could just write 1.5x. So our total money we bring in sales is going to be $1.50 times the number of treats we sell. And that is our system of equations. Okay, what I want you to do now is try and solve the two systems that we wrote tonight. That's it. We'll go over them in class tomorrow. Make sure you have your notes filled out because, again, I will be collecting them. Thanks. Have a good night.